Hey guys, it's Rosacea Awareness Month, so I thought it would be a great time to share what I'm doing with my skin over the course of a day, given that I have a tendency to rosacea, just like 1 in 10 of those of us who live in Northern Europe. Now, that means for me that I have a tendency to flush, certainly if the room is too hot, or I have a glass of red wine, which I do on occasion, or have particularly spicy food, or even just fiddling with my skin a lot. My skin will tend to become pink. I don't tend to get spots so much in the center of my face, which is quite characteristic of papulopustular rosacea. I'm more prone to the erythema-telangiectatic type. You might just kind of recognize your skin as being redness-prone. So it's about knowing where you are on this kind of continuum. I'd say I'm somewhere in the middle. It's definitely there. I can see little broken capillaries, and every so often I'll have a little bit of laser with Dr. Rakesh to try to reduce those, but I'm not too obsessive about it. I think really for me what's important is that consistent daily skincare routine that manages that tendency in my skin. I'm also aware of my tendency to break out. I'm prone to blemishes in my lower face, although a bit less now than I probably was 5 or 10 years ago, but I still consciously manage my skincare routine to reduce the risk of breaking out. And then finally, I'm concerned about fine lines and wrinkles, you know, especially around the eyes, maybe a little bit of less tautness in the lower face. So considering all of those 3 things, I have to be quite fussy with my skincare routine. So I'm going to share with you what I do in a typical day as I do my morning routine. So let's get into this. We want to talk about cleansing, activating, hydrating, and protecting. But first, a big no-no from my skin is anything with fragrance. My skin simply hates it, and I put it down to probably years of testing products when judging beauty awards, when you will have boxes upon boxes arrive at your doorstep and you have to get through a lot of product in a short space of time. So that means if I want a more sensorial experience, I have to scent the air. So I am currently loving this NeuTraLISING water therapy, which is actually a really gorgeous blend of sandalwood, one of my most favorite ingredients for scent, combined with marine elements and sage and fir, and it's sort of a really lovely kind of nuzzly smell. So I will sprit the air away from my face, and that just creates that feeling of something more luxurious for my routine without putting my skin at risk. Right, so first step, cleanse. I firmly believe if you get cleansing wrong, you cannot get skincare right. And that is doubly true, if not more so, for redness-prone skin. I am going to talk about Dr. Sam's products in the video today, and that is not because this is a blatant sales video. This is because this is actually what I use on my skin. And as a founder, if I didn't use my own products, there might be a bit of an issue, so don't come for me in the comments, all right? So Flawless Cleanse is the perfect cleanser for redness-prone skin and blemish-prone skin. I formulated it specifically to meet those needs because those needs are terribly common. So that means no fragrance, of course, no skin clogging ingredients, no essential oils, nothing that doesn't need to be there to ensure that I cleanse my skin effectively but preserve that all-important barrier function. So I'm going to do 1 pump because this is my morning routine, but if it was nighttime, I would do 2 pumps to make sure I get everything off my skin. So I'm going to do 1 pump. For me, with redness-prone skin, we want nothing rougher than fingertips, all right? So we don't want flannels, we don't want brushes, we just want skin on skin. And if that means taking a bit longer, and I firmly believe in a 60-second cleanse, so be it. I actually practice something called the Physiological PSY, which sounds a bit dramatic, but it's an Andrew Huberman technique that's thought to be the most calming kind of breath work that you can do, which involves a deep breath in and a second little one, which fully inflates all the lungs alveoli, giving you essential oxygen, important for skin and everything else. And then a big long exhale, which is very calming to the nervous system because it activates the vagus nerve. So I'm going to rinse that off with tepid, not hot water. Pat skin dry, don't rub. Now, one thing I would just say is if my skin is very, very sensitive, or you're having an active flare up and you're getting maybe an outbreak of papules and pustules and your barrier feels really dry, you might want to try a cream cleanser, in which case I would use the La Roche-Posay Toleriane Dermo Cleanser. Super gentle, no fragrance, kind of almost nothing. So next step is to activate. Or in the case of redness-prone skin, I guess it's more of an anti-inflammatory thing. So for me, I use azelaic acid in the morning, so I do use Brightly serum with 10% azelaic acid. But what's nice about this formula is that because it's got 4 different actives, it's quite multitasking, very multitasking even. So it's got bakuchiol, which is anti-inflammatory but also good for keeping pores clear, calming breakouts, improving pigmentation and fine lines and wrinkles. It really does almost everything that a retinoid that you're using at night will do, but you can also use it in the daytime, and you can use it on top of your retinoid as well for a supplementary effect. It's got some ascorbyl glucoside in here. Now, for me, that is amazing because my skin has become quite intolerant to L-ascorbic acid, which, if you know a bit about product chemistry, has to be formulated at a low pH around 3.5, which is way below the skin's 4.5 to 5 pH level. Still slightly acidic, but L-ascorbic acid needs to be very acidic, and that can be irritating. So for me, it just makes me too pink, too red, and ascorbyl glucoside, which is an ester, which becomes converted into L-ascorbic acid in the skin very easily, is a gentler option and suits me better. And then we have niacinamide, barrier boosting, pigmentation improving, blemish calming, which again really suits my skin. So that concoction of actives together really does wonders for my redness-prone, aging concerned complexion. Now I'm going to do 1 pump, and I'm going to do the 13 dot technique. You really want the benefits all over, not just on your trouble zones. Now, of course, alternatives to that include Finacea on prescription, which is 15% azelaic acid. You could use a more straightforward azelaic acid from, say, The Ordinary or Paula's Choice. Choose your azelaic product according to your needs. But for me, I want as much bang for my buck as I can get. I work that in everywhere. I don't do that in my eye area because azelaic acid doesn't really have a role in fine lines. It doesn't have any impact on collagen that we know of. Now, worth a quick mention, I do use neutralizing gel from time to time. I sometimes use it in my T-zone, particularly in the week before my period. My skin's a bit oilier and I like the salicylic acid in here, it's 2%, for the occasional blemish. And I find that whether it's a kind of more rosacea-y type bump, I don't get them very often, but it would tend to be more here, and I have had one here recently. It's quite a rare thing for me to get spot, but if I do, I find this works better for me, even than, say, benzoyl peroxide, which can just be that bit more drying, but does work well equally for some others. So you kind of have to find your blemish buster of choice. So it might be benzoyl peroxide, and 2.5% is about as strong as you need to go, or you might go 2% salicylic acid, a little bit kinder to the barrier, and this is really moisturising, which means I don't get that dry cornflake patch after I've applied it, so I can put concealer on the spot too. But for nighttime, all I would do is swap in azelaic acid for something that's retinoid based. Now, that's allowing my morning routine to take precedence in terms of the redness solution side of things, whereas at nighttime, I'm focusing more on the health and well-being of my dermal matrix. So that means a retinoid, and if I'm a little more on the dry side, I'll go Nightly Pro, and if I'm, I don't know, gearing up for something important, maybe I'm filming in a week's time, I'll go a little harder on the prescription side of things. So this is a Bagi Tresinoin 0.05. I do think using a retinoid is really helpful because so many people who've got rosacea have also got evidence of premature aging. I think retinoids at night just make sense, but you have to calibrate it according to where your redness is at. And if you're in an active flare-up, do not use a retinoid, stick to your anti-inflammatories. So once my actives have fully absorbed in, my skin is touch dry, then I'll come on to moisturization and hydration. So a fundamental step, even for combination skin. So 65% of us have combination skin. It's normal. For me, usually it means just using a moisturizer according to how dry or not my cheeks are, or whether or not I want, in this case, niacinamide, which is in Flawless Moisturizer, or ceramides, which is a moisturiser light. Now, in my oilier half of my cycle, so after day 14, I tend to lean into moisturiser light. The ceramides are just lovely around the eyes, but you know, equally flawless moisturiser. I don't feel too strongly about it. This would probably give me a slightly better finish to my makeup at the end of the day, but I would have to block my T-zone a bit more. So it's really swings and roundabouts, you using what you need when you need it, and kind of becoming that expert of your own skin, mastering your own skin, knowing what it needs and when it needs it. So today I'm going to do full fat flawless moisturiser in this luscious large size now, and one pump is almost always enough for me. We're just going to do, you guessed it, 13 dots. I just find it such a helpful ritual, and I almost default to it now. It would never occur to me just to do that and put it all on without precision. And you know, I use my fourth finger for my under eye area, and I really work it in because I want that nice smooth base for concealer application. And then I'll just kind of lightly glide it in elsewhere. Might do a little bit of massage, it feels good. Get the knuckles in there. And then, you know, work it around your upper lip. Just don't miss bits. And I find if you stick to doing 1 or 2 fingers with your application technique, you get a more thorough layer of hydration to all the nooks and crannies. And then when it comes to your makeup, you just don't get those dry patches. Time, care, and consistency. Now I do the same amount on my neck. Direct on my neck. Okay, good. Final step is to protect, and sunscreen is almost as important as your actives when it comes to managing redness-prone skin. And for me, I'm a mineral sunscreen obsessive because it suits my skin so well, and particularly with a little tint because it just helps mask redness, so I've got a lot less to do with my cosmetics. So I'm going to go in with Gossamer Tint 1. Good news on the Gossamer Tint 2 front, guys, any day now. It's only been 3 years. So yeah, and I'm going to be really generous with it, and it's going to look a bit scary, and then it'll look fine because that's what mineral sunscreen does. All right, so we're going to do 2 thin layers, and I'm going to do a bit of Flawless Daily Sunscreen on my neck, which is untinted because life is too short to deal with tinted sunscreen on the neck. And then I'm just going to do my neck with a bit of Flawless Daily Sunscreen. In a pinch, I can do without moisturiser on my neck, and it's got some niacinamide in there, which is such a great ingredient for my neck. But it is just a great moisturiser as well, so lovely shade. So that's face and neck protected and perfected. So just on my makeup off camera, I did film that, so if you want to see it, let me know in the comments. And really, I think you need to learn to master your skin. I'm really passionate about that. That kind of is the premise of the whole Dr. Sam's brand, is know thy skin. Know thyself, know thy skin. So I hope that seeing what I do to my skin in a typical day helps you build an effective skincare plan so you can enjoy the benefits of healthy, glowing skin. Thanks for joining me, guys. See you again soon.